Toplick, yes.
Yes, I think the walls are still shaking. Wow. And essentially, it sounds pretty cool. I mean, it was kind of funny watching kids that like my son and my daughter's age dressed up like the way we were.
Yeah.
And it was like, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. Here's us old guys, jeans and T-shirts and whatever, and they're dressed up in the
Capizios and Nembazoli jackets.
Yeah. Well, wait. It's not Brooklyn, okay?
That's right. It wasn't Chris.
Sorry, Chris, if you're out there listening.
Yeah.
But it should be pretty interesting. Like I said, there's some major league players in there, and my car shows up in a couple of scenes. As a matter of fact, one of them is one of the drag races.
So when is that movie scheduled, or is it scheduled to be released?
It's scheduled to come out in September the 28th.
Okay.
And I'm not sure exactly the release. I know it's going to be in at least a couple theaters around here, or at least a theater around here.
Right.
And I'm not really sure, so I don't want to give out misinformation, but that's the release date right now. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you're listening out there, guys, from the Cruise movie, but...
is that Gino? Who's that?
The guy's name was Gino, yes.
Right.
The guy's name was Gino. And he was a local guy from Whitestone. I spoke to him very briefly on one of the shoots there. He was like, hey, is it okay if we use your car in one of the scenes? We got to have a stuntman drive. And I'm like, you never seen me drive, did you?
Yeah.
But, he's the main guy of the project there. And if you're listening out there, we would love to get our hands on you, especially before the movie comes out, and you can get to talk it up. So
right.
Get in touch with us,
Right. Walking back in with Mr. Marty Shores, Gary, the local brush. I wonder if we can get Gary in this hot seat over here for a minute and sit and talk with us a little bit.
Paint the picture for us.
He can paint the picture, all right. This is a guy who's well known all over the place, so we'll hopefully get Gary with us.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit. And in the meantime, you can still call us at 516-572-7440. You can get your thoughts and concerns and all of that good stuff. And as Gary gets all wired up, you can do that too, because that's pretty common. And here we are, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
How you doing?
Excellent. Good to see you. Of course, you're a name who's been all over Long Island for quite a long time. Your work is renowned and revered everywhere. And in fact, that car I was talking about, the motion Monte Carlo that I worked on yesterday, was striped by Gary. So it was actually touching your work yesterday, with a nice,
with reverence,
soft rig. Yeah. So Gary, I mean, how do you encompass the story of what you've done and what you're doing, and if you can?
It started off as an artist, strictly as an artist, and it turned out that I love cars. And it was just easy to work on a car as a canvas.
Okay.
And that's basically what happened. And as a young guy, I was lucky enough to bounce off of Joel Rosen in a funny way. And that's, the owner of Motion.
Right.
And
what was the funny way? Because we love funny on this show. We want to laugh with you.
Was there wrestling involved?
A little cursing, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know what I could say on the radio.
Yeah, you can't do that.
All right. I had, as a young kid, I had bought my own GTO. 1966 GTO, brand new, $3,000.
Yeah.
I wish I still had the car today.
I've never heard that before.
I had it jacked up in the air. I had the lettering on it, have nothing to do with motion performance, but it said instant motion.
Ah.
Okay, that had nothing to do with motion. I had seen it in our race car in California, liked the name.
Okay.
Of course, that's what I did as a young kid, lettered everybody's front fenders.
Right.
Put girls' names on front fenders. And
Destry rides names, again.
All of it. Yeah, sure. So I drive into Motion, and I'm looking for parts, anything to see what he has that I can put on the car.
Uh-huh.
And he looks out the window and he sees, this is Joel, looks out the window and sees my car. And he says, you have to take the name off the car. I said, why? He says, well, I don't sponsor you. So he says, you have to take it off. And then I can't repeat what I said back to him at that point, and I walked out.
Right.
About 6 months later, he's at the racetrack, and he sees a car that I lettered.
Uh-huh.
So he goes over to the owner of the car and asks who lettered it. And my name is given out. And of course, Joel doesn't know my name. So he gives me a call, and he says, I'm having an issue with the letterer that I'm using now. I need somebody new to do some lettering. Mm-hmm. So I don't hold grudges. I still don't.
Good.
And I went down there, and he doesn't remember the story. But his wife brought it up recently how we met. So I kind of told her with all the cursing and everything like that. And so I started doing his work. And then he found out that I could do more than just letter.
Right.
So I lettered up. The first car I ever lettered for him was I think it was a 1966 Oldsmobile from Mac Markowitz Oldsmobile.
Right.
That was a race car. I did that car. Then I got involved in finishing the co-motion race car.
Right.
Which I didn't start lettering. A guy named Wendell did.
Okay.
And Wendell and Joel went their separate ways, and so I had to finish that car. So both of our names are on there. And I started getting more involved in customizing cars, and Joel found out that I could, start flaring wheel wells, and I opened up my own shop, and it was called Ultra Automation. It was over in Hicksville, and Joel brought me brand new Corvettes, and I used to cut them right up.
Wow, yeah, there you go. Something
That's fun.
Of course, you look at these cars today and you say, "Oh my word!" You can't. But I'm in the Corvette world. I'm a huge fan of the custom Corvette. In fact, if I ever am in a position to find one and buy one, I would want to buy that custom 70s. It's right out of the 70s Corvette. That's my deal right there. I just love the era, love the vibe.
Well, I'm lucky enough to feel that at that time, you could customize a Corvette, and it was actually worth more than a stocker.
Yeah.
And the way I can prove it is I did one for myself. I took a 63 split window, and I cut it up. I cut the roof off the car. I put the roof back differently than it was originally.
Oh.
I stretched the front end of the car and made it really radical. I ran the ISCA show. That's the International Show Car Association show, and won the whole Northeast Division.
Wow.
It was probably the most radical Corvette in the country at the time. Made the cover of 4 magazines. Marty's one of them. And to this day, it's in the Corvette Museum, not the car, but one of the magazine covers of my car is on display in the Corvette Museum in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that until about 2 years ago when a friend of mine was down there and he says, "Your Corvette is on the cover in the show."
Wow.
That's high praise.
Yeah. So that makes me feel good.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was a great canvas. The Corvette's a great canvas. It's sexy lines to begin with. They look great. You look at these cars, and the time stands still. They still look as good now as they always did, maybe even better. And of course, the new ones are right along with them. But then when you start to modify them, and being a modified guy like myself,
Oh, yes.
wheel flares, side pipes. You do the 3 lights in the back, the shark nose. I mean, you go. Sky's the limit.
You get to put your name on it. In other words, nobody's going to mistake your car in the parking lot for somebody else's. It's not like a couple of Camrys parked together or something.
There was even a Corvette wagon. A lot of guys. I know a lot of our listeners remember the Corvette wagon conversion, and there was a Trans Am conversion as well.
Yes. As a matter of fact, that was on one of the Instagram shots sites. Very recently there.
Well, I didn't do any of those, but I did a lot of cars for Joel.
Yeah.
All the parts that he would sell, well, he said, we got to build them. And then we got a little too far when we started doing Mako Sharks.
Yeah. Well, that, of course, was the inception for the 68 Corvette. That was the Mako preceded that.
The 63 it preceded.
Right.
Actually, it was built in the late 50s.
Yes.
The General
Real
Motors
early,
did
yeah.
it. Right.
Yeah.
And then Joel decided, let's build some of those.
Right.
And he got involved with a guy named John Silva, who originally built that body style. And the two of them got together in a partnership that lasted 5 minutes. And Joel went his way, and John Silva went his way.
Okay.
And Joel was good at production. He between him and Marty, they had the advertising, so his name became more popular than John Silva's.
Right.
And then I painted a bunch of them, and then Joel let me do pretty much what I wanted, as long as I had that blend from dark on the top to the light on the bottom.
Right.
He let me do what I want, so I slipped fish scales in there, which we all know sharks don't have fish scales.
Right.
But it was just the theme of the car.
Yeah.
And nobody knows this, but I'll put it out there today. One of those cars, I put the fish scales on backwards.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Was that by mistake? Or was that...
it was a mistake. I didn't realize it until I saw it in a picture. I looked at it and I said, those are backwards. Holy mackerel. This is a long time afterwards.
Oh, wow.
And I still see the picture of it, so I know that one of them is backwards. Now I figure everybody in the audience is going to start going through magazines and the books. And it's actually in Marty's book, one of them that is. It's
no
backwards.
kidding.
Yep.
Okay. I'll have to look, because I have his other books at home. I'll have to check that out.
Another Where's Waldo moment.
Right, but where's Waldo? Where is Motormouth Radio today? We are up at the Malibu Car Show in Whitestone. Sorry, Jim, but that's what we're going to call it.
It's Whitestone.
We're right up here off the base of the Whitestone Bridge. The crowd has pretty much stayed the same. It's a small, hearty crowd, and it's really hasn't.
Yeah, well, like as Billy pointed out, Billy Velvet, life is short. You got seize them when you can. And besides that, cars don't melt.
No,
so
yeah, that's true.
And neither do people for the most part.
Years past, he's had the Goodyear ice cream truck right at the corner here. And we were always fighting to get our ice cream and eat it before it did melt, because it was usually very hot. This show is usually very packed. It's kind of
this place is like usually this mass humanity. Today it's much more sparse, but it is raining. Right. Some people probably looked out the window and said, nah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But but we are here, 90.3 WHPC, Motormouth Radio. Mm-hmm. We're here out of the studio today. They got us out into the dampness to clear or clog our sinuses, however you want to call it. And we're talking with Gary, the local brush, of course, a name, a guy who's synonymous with custom pinstriping and painting all throughout Long Island.
See?
Beautiful. Yeah, those shark noses on those Corvettes, that stuff is show Sean. Show him the picture. This is our world here. This is what we eat, sleep, live, and breathe.
Some impressive stuff
we love.
The motor was almost as high as the roof of the car.
Yes,
absolutely.
That is one impressive.
Now, along with building, for other people, you have a little impressive stable of cars on your road, or you have had throughout the years. I know you still have a real nice one, right?
I have it here.
Yes.
Yeah, I drive a 1940 Ford. It's mostly my everyday driver. Mm-hmm. I kid everybody, even though I take it to shows, I kid everybody and say, still has dirt under there from 1940. It's an original chassis. It's got an I-beam in there. It's been lowered down as low as I can get it without airbags. Mm-hmm. And I had a guy named Fritz. That's Fred Schenk. Probably the most radical custom car builder in the country today, in my opinion. He's built a couple of bubble cars, and he restores a lot of the original Ed Roth cars.
Wow, yeah.
And so he chopped my car.
Okay.
We lowered the car down about 3 inches, and he came up with the idea of making the B-pillar round. He says, because most of them are, the factory made them straight up and down, and he thought it would look better round. So I went along with it, and it has a real nice look. The car looks like it's moving forward even when it's sitting still.
Again, it's the designer's eye. The designers who kind of know. They have that. I have a daughter that has that vision. She goes, no, it should be this way instead of that way. And we've learned to just defer to her and say, okay, well, you know what you're doing. It looks like we have another phone call, and we do. We have our buddy Cliff on the line. So as soon as we get our telephonic communicator coronificated over here, we'll say, hi, Cliff, you're on to Motor Mouths.
Hey, guys, how you doing? I got to give you guys a lot of credit for doing a remote broadcast. I know there's a ton of engineering involved in there. And,
you got to see what we're doing just to hear your phone call.
Yeah.
I got a question for Gary. Gary, I'm a fan of Gary's. He's done a few of my cars. He's even done a minivan of mine. and I just had a question. I know he's one of the prolific, famous guys that I know of in the area. And I know when I was a kid growing up in Queens, there was another guy, Vic Kessler, very known. Do amongst the pinstripe, and I've always been fascinated and think it's an amazing art. Did you guys ever have an association? Do you meet the other pinstripers, or do you happen to be friends with the other pinstripers, or have any kind of associations? I was just always curious with that, and I just want to compliment on Gary on his amazing work. And
okay,
he also
Gary,
did a nice 911
if
truck.
The other
he did an amazing
pinstripers
truck that I saw, and.
Vic Kessler, if you obviously, I guess if you guys had commiserated, if you knew each other, and if there was any association that you guys belonged to.
There's not any real association. I knew Vic as a competitor. He was a good guy. He very seldom came into Nassau County, and I very seldom went into Queens, but we would bounce off each other now and then.
Right.
Sorry to say, I went to his funeral. I met his family at the funeral. And when I met his son came up to me and said, "So you're Gary the local brush?" And I said to him, "Oh, I didn't like the way you said that."
Yeah.
He said, "Well, let me tell you what my father said." He said, "You're not a pinstriper. You're an artist." And I turned around and I said, "Well," I looked up at the sky and I said, "Thanks, Vic. I appreciate that."
Yeah.
Today, it's not